So a few more boys with us now, which is fantastic. A few more cycling around, which is great. So the first question I'm going to ask them, and it's probably the number one question that everyone needs to hear about.
Check it. Yeah.
What motivation did you draw on during the duration of HSC, or what actually motivated you to keep striving through for your best throughout the 2 years, year 11 and year 12? Are there any takers to start the conversation?
I feel like anything you want, like anything
Ringing.
HSC,
Yeah. Is it picking up through there?
yes, I can get early options and do what I wanted to do. But if I work hard, try 8 times a week to get I can really open up. And I think that was really my So I think like anything, everyone wants as much opportunity as possible. Everyone wants to do well. So that for me was my motivation to actually work hard and do well in the agency.
How do you choose what source it comes from? I don't know. He said just put it like this and just said starting new. You can't hear it at all. Yeah.
Me, I was just been in school for 10, 11, 12 years. You might as well for the last years, like we have. Just push as hard as you can. One last year, you can make it a bit like
Too hot for you.
Yes, recently he's like a good crack for 2 years, and that feeling that you have when you know that you tried your best and that will result in tissue cracks.
Yeah, similar to Henry and Will, my motivation was really trying my best and exiting the HSC with a clear mind. So I don't want to be one of those blokes like, oh, I'm going to hire, I'm going to this, I don't want to have excuses. So I thought the best thing is really try my best, get the best mark I can, and then if it wasn't what I achieved, I wanted to achieve, then it doesn't matter. I achieved my best.
I think my motivation was making absolute use of all the resources you can get. And then when it comes to the exam, obviously do the best and second hands. So it really puts me.
Yeah, I think everyone realistically is going to have small goals in mind that they want to achieve, but my main one was that I didn't want to like to look back in 2 years and go, oh, I could have gone better, I could have tried harder, I could have done more essays. I just wanted to finish high school and said I've done all that I could, and whatever result that I got would reflect that hard work, because I just didn't want to live with any regret and be like, oh, could have done more, could have tried harder. That's just what I wanted to, finish year 12 with.
All right, thanks, gentlemen. We're going to have a 2 or 3 question response. I'm going to move between a few more questions and responses. Okay. I'm going to put a couple of shoes on the spot. We talk about HSC success, distinguished achievement, 90 plus ATARs, outstanding levels of achievement in HSC year. Zah, do you mind if I put you on the spot a bit? Zah's growth from when he commenced in year 11 all the way through to the end of year 12 was phenomenal. And I just heard Miss Hurley say to him, if Zah can do this, this is a motivational story that he can do it. Now, I didn't know Zah at the beginning of year 11. I'm not sure what Zah's story is, but I keep hearing this thing. But I analyse all the data. I recognise where Zah came from and what growth he showed. So Zah, can you tell us a bit about your story and about how you got to this point right now?
Might be here for a while. Look, in my junior high school journey, I was pretty careless, I'd say. I remember it's difficult to overseas. Very young and getting me a really good name up to me in 10. And I feel like that resonates with a lot of people here. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people think that you just go through school and I'll go to uni because I'll get early entry, and everyone says 100% early entry rate, this, that, it'll all be okay. But one thing that I particularly learned was that like these boys were saying, you go to school for such a limited period of time, and if you have the aspiration to do well in life, it was a great begin your journey. Dedication, discipline, motivation, all of that, it starts at school. I thought school was pointless until I went to year 11 and I spoke to my dad. I had a really big conversation with him and I told him, I was like, I want to be successful in life. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I don't know what path I must take to be successful. But my dad told me the first thing he said to me was, it starts at school. The way you treat others, the way you treat your work, how disciplined you are, how focused you are, it all starts at school. And so from year 11, year 12, I started putting my head down. I could have done much more. I still had to deal with early habits of, slacking off a bit, and that let down some of my results, but I never gave up. I really just kept pushing, even when I felt down, didn't know if I could do it anymore, I just kept pushing. Like, you have such limit, like, time flies in year 11 and 12. You'll think, like, you think it's 2 days. Like, that's it. It goes in a flash, right? So just push your head down, keep working. And everyone says that 90 is so hard to get. It's really not. It's genuinely not. Like, people laugh. I'm telling you now, if you just do the work, you'll get it done. You'll get whatever mark you want.
Thanks, I really appreciate that. On that note then, we're hearing this group of young men who are really connected and really working well together. There's a real collaborative approach towards HSC success. So the best, tight, connected cohorts often do the best in terms of their results. So, question to everybody, how can each year group find ways to collaborate and support each other whilst trying to achieve your own personal best in the HSC?
The thing with our year group, like, we were really connected, but it really only came off the trials. So everyone started sharing their stuff. We had shared folders of like advanced 6 responses in trial exams, and everyone the notes. But I reckon you should start from day one. Share everything around to everybody, because it really doesn't matter. The ranks don't matter. Like, teachers trying to push the ranks matter for competition, so everyone does better. But realistically, if everyone does better and everyone does really, really good, your HSC mark will push in the final result. So if everyone does better, everyone benefits a lot more individually. So,
yeah, for our year group personally, I think it all started from year 11 reflection day. The year 12s obviously had it, you guys yet to have it, but that was a real day of connection. I feel like after we left the place at Stanwell Park, we all just, the year group was connected as a whole. But as Dylan said, yeah, if you start earlier and connect and work together, even if it's like a group of 10 of you in the class, just working together, go to the uni library together, do essays, mark each other's work, just do all that little stuff. It helps so much, because in the long run, then after trials, you're not just sharing stuff, you've already got it, and then you can work together. So you'd rather have 10 of you at band 6 than 1 of you at band 6, and then have to push the other 9 of you up. So like Dylan said, just start early, and then from there it all just goes perfectly, or I'd like to say perfectly smooth up until the HSC.
Yeah, for me, I think it's really important to find someone similar goals. Like, I mean, I had a couple of people who were injuries, and just go to one age,
Just head to the hot block. Head back to hot block.
You can talk to them about something which you know what I mean. Yeah, it's not all about if you've got someone with similar goals, you've got similar mindsets, more down to each other.
Exactly did you put it?
I think just going on that, I think it's important to choose the people as you go. So like obviously you don't want to go to a library and like it's not around all the time, especially like you have a library as well. But you want to choose the people you go to wisely if you actually are going to do work and you actually got to work together. Because like at the end of the day you're all in the same boat, you're all doing the same kind of thing. It just I would say just don't take it for granted. You do want to actually offer, you want to like put the work in, and it is good to have like a good couple of mates who have a similar work ethic and similar goals like that to you. You can all like dance together and do it together.
Thanks, Dylan. there was a frequent flyer program that Edmund Rice were offering, these boys would have a free flight to Europe by this point in time. The time they spent together working in the library, after school, during holiday periods, it was very noticeable, and the results speak for themselves. So I guess the HSC staff, you said it, no, it's pretty clever. I'm not so sure about that, but it's a tangible element you're saying it's attainable. It can be done, which I think is a great concept. There's a lot of things to do in the HSC. Every week, every month, things build up in that process for you. So how did you prioritise, this is for everybody, how did you prioritise to-do list? Prioritise the work that had to be done when you had a number of different subjects, number of assessments, number of bits of revision. How did you prioritise your time to give every one of your courses the best opportunity to the highest level of achievement?
Yeah, I think it was difficult at the start, especially starting year 11. Like, it's very overwhelming having everything all coming at once. But I think you slowly learn like what to do more. So if you're really good at one subject and you're like, all right, I'll have a little bit less time on that. Obviously, still like good time to have a bit less time on that. You're not as good at. It really depends. It's hard, but it depends on like your own skills and your own like goals, I guess. Because if you want to do something well in one subject, you obviously have to put more time into that than others. I think it depends.
I think the good answer to the course hasn't really changed in the past 10 years for most subjects. I know some are updated and stuff, but the basis of what you're learning hasn't really changed. So you have a really good opportunity with the resources that we have at our school to get a really good front foot forward. Like, you want to do that in your own time when you extend yourself in class. You stay on top of your homework and do that little bit of extra each day. You get the library and then these skills will go in. You just want to look at some past year responses and see what they're doing. There's so many resources online that you can look at and find, and it'll just make your life so much easier. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, like it's not that hard. Look up past responses to certain things. You know the text you're going to be studying, you know what the core units are, you know everything that you're going to be doing in your HSC, which makes it easy.
So big things as well. So the other thing is, I got sat down with these things really, to just really give you clarity on what upcoming tasks, especially when you feel down. Just sit down and really kind of back that how you're going to prepare for the assessment. I didn't do that as much as I should have, I think, but I think that's my biggest advice for upcoming tasks. Try to sit down with your teachers because they've gone through countless years of the same or similar syllabus with countless different students, different personalities, people that match with kind of you. So they have a grasp of how you work best, and they can, figure out the best plan for you guys. Recommend you upcoming tasks. I think it's a very good.
I think for me, with time management, it's really important to set it personally. For me, I work on social life. For me, I'm prioritizing for me, so I can be up to this life and make sure I'm there with everyone's services and things, and so really have to time to manage those assignments. So I think by first in year 11 or 12, setting up and valuing each project, you figure it out yourself on there. So just pick each one, set time for each one, and from there it's decide yourself.
And often, like what the scientists at the start, we were okay. Started with almost business and mediation, so I like both subjects. Towards the end, I think I just see the trials, I just need the balance. I need to do one, reading another fire, is a much bigger difference than English or maths. Because that stretch at the very, very top is so hard to get, and everyone just goes back to the where you fail and push on those subjects. You need balance. So I recommend at the start of the year you have a balance, all subjects. So you don't have to jam in before HSC tasks. Only a month before you need to learn. So
Excellent. John Paul, you did, I think you were very successful in that course.
No.
Do you want to talk about the major work process and what that looks like in terms of managing your time as well?
I can't really emphasise this enough, but start from the first day, start from the first week. The reality is that, like anything, whether it's good work or better work, the major body of work requires a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of effort. And the reality is, especially with art, the major work isn't so much your final piece, but it's the process coming up to your piece. Your idea, your concept, you visualize it. Those of you who do art know what I'm talking about. So, do not leave it to the last 2 months. A whole year to do all the work sounds like a lot of time. The reality is that it isn't. So, I think for me personally, I put a lot of time and effort in that first term or two of year 12. And my assessments weren't as big, weren't as heavy, where I wasn't stretched for time. I really spent a lot of my free periods going into the art rooms and doing work. And that allowed me, when my body work was actually due, which is around that trial time, I didn't have a lot of what to do with my body work. It was pretty much already finished. And that allowed me to focus on a lot of my other subjects. So just be really mindful with any subject which has a big major work. You need to start working, you need to get your ideas down, and then put that effort from the start. And then, as I said, that way when it is actually due, you're pretty much already there and you've got that time to work on other assessments. Because especially during trials, it's essentially like doing your HSC, but in 2 weeks. And it's really condensed, really, really straight. So, just put your work in from the start. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. As well, touch base with your teacher, especially art. What's it called? This Excel, incredible teacher. She can really guide you into getting your basics artwork. And same thing with your work, same thing with your work. Touch base with your teacher, get your feedback, see where you can improve. And if you put that time and effort in from the start, you'll have that extra time to get feedback. If you look at a lot of the work and metal work, projects from last year, a lot of them weren't finished, a lot of boys didn't get what they wanted done with their work. It just came down to time. So, just put in the hard work and achieve that.
Thank you. There's been lots of people talking about the idea of using teachers and drawing on people to support you throughout the journey. How important is it to ask for and seek out support from a range of people, and who did you look for that support?
I think feedback is essential with all subjects, particularly for me personally, SRO2 and English. English particularly, I think is really important to get feedback. The fact is you can memorise 20 quotes, you can memorise all the context, but if you don't answer the question, you won't get as high a mark. So putting the as I said, putting the hard work from day one and putting those essay responses in and getting feedback, seeing where you go wrong, building good structure in your essays. Do that literally from the get-go of year 12. The reality is, coming into assessment periods, teachers are overwhelmed with feedback. They're overwhelmed, coming into trials, everyone's dumping heaps of practice essays wanting feedback. So get feedback during the term, from week 1, week 2. You just do practice essays, an essay a week, for example. Get it into your teacher and get feedback. And in that way, coming up into the trials, coming up into the HSC, you've already got your essays, down pat. You've already got that structure sorted out. So, I just that the feedback is essential, especially as I said, with subjects which are really particular about answering the question, such as English, such as SRO2, a lot of humanitarian subjects, even economics. What's it called? Feedback, it's essential. So go with your teachers and listen to them.
Yeah, Jeremy, 100% right. With writing subjects, getting that feedback is really important. But also with your subjects that don't have a lot of writing, like doing the sciences and mathematics courses, still going to the teachers after classes and ask them to explain a concept you don't quite get is really important. So if you're confused about anything at all, they're always willing to explain it to you. So getting in there and asking those questions that, dive a little bit deeper into complex ideas is really important. And if you have that clear foundation, you'll find in the exams, you won't get as worried when you see a tricky problem. And I think that's really important.
Going to something like English,
where feedback is really important. It's important to get it done early because you can incorporate that feedback and you have so much more time to do it. Like I know in the trials, I probably spent the last 3 days before the English exam doing like 7 essays and trying to get all the feedback incorporated. It's pretty stressful for everyone, so just don't do it, get it done early and get that feedback because like my improvement from the trials to HSC was like pretty significant. And I think that really comes down to the feedback.
Feedback is very important because how you use it, like, I think you've got to be willing to take advice. Like, I remember so many times when students would tell me things and I just refuse to accept that I'm wrong. So I feel like you've got to be really accepting and you've got to remember the teacher there to support you or trying to make success and make it fail. So just be willing to understand that you first you can teach it's not really your best work. Like, you may put a lot of effort into it, but that work isn't the best work. Like the teachers, they hold a degree in what they teach and they know better than us. So make sure you take their advice because they know better than us.
Yeah, I think that's like a great way. It's like at the end of the day, it's not like it's a big secret. HSC is not a secret. Like the teachers know more than anyone. They've had so many year groups going forward, so they know best. Especially, I mean, for me, English, business, science, master. Like, it's just the feedback. You can't do it without it. I would not have got like as well as I did without like the feedback. It's just so important, and you just have. It's something you just have to do. Like, yes, sometimes it's just, you're like, oh, I don't really want to put the extra work in, but just do it. It's not actually that bad. Like, they'll give you a bit, and you can talk to them about it, things you don't understand, and just incorporate it, come back, and eventually they'll be like, yeah, that's good. Like, you don't need to. It's not like you need to keep going. Once it's perfect, it's good.
Yeah, obviously feedback's important, but you need to get it early because when you start memorizing stuff and you go to the teacher, give this feedback, they're like, oh, it's not that good. So that memorization beforehand was pretty much useless. The way I took feedback was not to improve my essays or my notes. I took it as, well, how did they improve this? So like, if Mr. Burke or Mr. Larson says like my essay or my short answers, I'll be like, how'd you identify that? How'd you fix it? So I use that improvement in my essays for the exam, because you're never going to be able to copy and paste that same essay in the exam. You're going to have to improve, you're going to have to work on the spot. So working on the spot is really good feedback. That's the idea.
Yeah, feedback is extremely important. Obviously, when they give you feedback, it's your responsibility to know what you've done wrong and what you can do to improve. And feedback isn't just also what they give you in class, like paperwork, like trying to improve what you can do in a certain section. Feedback can also be how you can change your study technique, what you can do in that problem to make yourself feel better. Because when the exam comes, there's a good chance you might be nervous or anxious. So speak to your teachers and they will help you feel better. Feedback is essentially anything that can make you feel better and what you can do to improve.
Yeah, like all the boys have said, you have to get the feedback from day one, because I know lots of you have probably done this. You can't hand an essay to your teacher the night before an exam and say like this, because they're only human, they have a life outside of school as well. So if you get it from day one and then, you know, work on it, seek feedback when you do the question again. If you ask Mr. Fields, he's probably marked 1,000 PDX questions of mine. Siri didn't get that. Anyway, okay, so you just have to do lots of feedback, get it from the start, because if you start early, then you know what you're doing, and from there it's just perfection. You just need to get it exactly how Michael wants it, the band 6 response. If you see the band 6 response and after the exam, it's not going to work. So just get it from the start and that's a lot.
It's my malfunction there. Great answers. What I heard though in that conversation was the share in the investment that everyone has in HSC. Yes, it's your results, but the teachers are invested in working side by side and really closely with you. They want you to achieve your potential as well. So everyone on this stage is a distinguished achiever. a course over a band 6 result, or quite possibly even train of thought challenge here. Process and preparation should be taken into huge consideration opposed to outcome. So a 90 ATAR is an outstanding achievement, but what you do day in, day out, week by week, is what gets you towards that ultimate goal. So gentlemen, the question for you, and we might come up to the stage here or in battery change, just walk me through the breakdown in terms of your daily routine, your use of study sessions at school, your study routines at home. What did it look like? How did you go about it? And how did you maximise your time each and every week to get to this ultimate goal of an outstanding achievement?
Those 3 hours you put towards doing something that actually is going to benefit you. So I think it's just that take away that short-term gratification, try to pursue something bigger. So like maybe it's not a gym, playing just doing it 5 times a week, training every night for a and still come home and still be able to get some programs. You'll be able to find time. It's just about having something to push you to say, I really need to do this right now. Show me something that I actually do. If you can do that,
Yeah, I think another big thing is just little efforts during the whole year will like add up to a really big, like you don't want to just be cramming a few weeks before. If you do like a few hours each week, that'll all add up and you'll be so much more confident by the time the exam comes around, and you're only going to be able to do a few hours before the exam, and you'll be confident in yourself and confident because you've memorized all these things leading up to the exam, rather than just it's 2 weeks before, I better start studying now. It's just little efforts, and it doesn't have to be like, as Henry said, like you have to do like 6 hours a night or anything, which like a few hours, balance the subjects out, and that'll all add up, and then eventually when the exam comes, you don't have to just be cramming and really stress.
So a big thing for me was I had soccer. I had to balance soccer, gym, school, friends, all that sort of stuff. I think a big thing for me was sit down with someone that you know that has a busy schedule, be your teacher, your parents, and kind of ask them how they manage their busy, all their workload and their commitments and everything. So I sat down with my dad around the trial period, which I should have done earlier, but when it really clicked in my head, I had to switch on and get moving. What I did was I procrastinated a lot. So a big thing for me was instead of studying in blocks of time, whereas like studying 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, I studied where I would give myself a week and I would tell myself I'm going to do X, Y, Z in this week. So it didn't matter how much hours I was going to put in. It was within this week, I'm going to get 5 religion questions done, business essay done, and math topic done. And that's how I do it rather than sitting down in hours blocks, because I tended to procrastinate a lot. I don't find things to do versus my friends. So I gave myself a week, I gave myself a target, and that's all through the timetable and the schedule. So I knew that when I had my free time, I'd have to get something done, because if I got to the end of the week and I didn't get it all done, my punishment was give my dad my phone, lock it away, do a full day of work, and I did not want to do that. So
kind of hold yourself accountable, give yourself a consequence, and that's the best way to do it. Stay disciplined. So building on what Henry said about balance, I think it really comes down to actually, well, it comes down to discipline, and also comes down to building positive habits. So for me personally, I really narrowed my time down to study, so school, social life, and exercise. The reality is that you guys actually have so much time in the day, but a lot of that time is spent as I said, as Henry said, social media, games, TV, whatever. The fact is that if you structure your life around, three really positive things, it's honestly not so bad. And as I said, it comes down to discipline, having the discipline to actually sit down and study. Right? So having the discipline to go, all right, I actually need a break. I'm going to go socialise with my mates, or I'm going to go, play soccer, play myself. Having that exercise and having that almost like holistic look of, okay, I need that balance. You're not going to do as well in your grades if you focus solely on school. You need to have that balance. You need to be happy. You need to be happy, with your physical self. You need to have a good social life. You need to have mates that you connect with. I think that's really most important is actually, sharing each other's problems. And that meant like when it came to HSC. So, I think just having that balance and trying your hardest and just have that balance and you do it.
Still with process. How important is the timetable and study sessions that you had in your daily routine here at school? So your timetable and study periods, how important?
For me, I don't think so. It's one of those I just had just a routine, every single day. I'd never do anything in the morning and go to school, and as soon as I get back to school, I give myself an hour break from school, and do work at school. From there, from 4 till 6, I try to lock in from there and try to get everything done between those hours and up. Especially when you get near exam periods, you can need to extend those, I realise. So, I think if I had more time again, I would reset a timetable because it would be more effective and a better idea. So I know what I need to do to single towards us and setting tasks. I think that would be a really good idea. But to be honest, I don't have a timetable.
The timetable, so
Lessons,
that would be important, and doing accelerated SOR2 helps a lot because it adds quite a few study periods to your timetable. And these, especially during coming up to the trial period, are very helpful. I got so much maths done that it probably boosted my mark from 70 to 90. So
I think there's different ways to use your study periods. Yes, you can catch up on my homework, that's what I do, so that way, as soon as I got home, I can go straight into study. For me personally, I say homework because I can actually do my own study. So being able to smash it out in my own study periods was really great, whilst I'm still in school. In saying that, you're going to have days where you really do not want to do during the study periods. You can study all night and you just sort of relax. But as I was going back to earlier, don't spend that day scrolling your phone or watching YouTube. Connect with your mates and see how they find HSC, see how they find your assessment tasks, learn from your mates. If they can maybe mark your assessment, just converse with different people who will say some of my closest mates, which I actually hang out with after HSC, I actually met them and talk to them properly during their study periods. So as I said, coming back to that idea of balance between social life, exercise, and study. There's different ways to use the study periods, but being just productive in some way is really important.
I think JP's sort of like with your study periods, you don't have to be studying, writing down the essay, a whole hour, doing all those work. It's important to have those hours of study. The study can just be looking at something and reading over something, or having a curiosity about something that isn't quite related to the subject, like word for word. But that's where you get your really good examples, and that's your fancy higher thinking. You have that genuine curiosity about a subject like economics. JP and I will definitely pick up like doing like the Australian financial review and stuff, which isn't quite our course content, but it's so effective for finding contemporary examples. And when you're actually interested in your subjects, like study period where you're like JP said, you're studying Latin, you don't want to do those lines of writing. Even if you're just reading and keeping up to date with things that are actually contemporary to what you're learning, and you have to use that as examples, that is just as effective as sitting down and writing an essay.
Another thing that I think you can take advantage of in your study periods are your classmates. I'm sure in your study periods there are people who maybe are more knowledgeable in the subject, and you can always go up to them and ask them questions. So, that does help get a little more understanding in the subject, and also it's important to have balance and, the class with social life and study and journals are stressed out. So definitely go and ask your peers for help if you're a bit lost. They'll see the right path. And don't be scared. They always want to help.
One more gentleman. Yeah.
Putting on to what JP and Henry said, the study periods are important. Like you've got to smash out your homework, especially if it's the last class. I used to always smash out some homework. But connecting with mates is really important. Because I used to see Henry and JP just read random newspapers in class. I'd be like, what are you doing that for? And they would be like, oh, because this is like temporary examples, finding information so you can use it in short answers and just start in there. And like, it's actually it's a smart idea. So study periods aren't about just slashing your homework. It's about finding new study techniques from other people. So you can't just focus on yourself all the time. You've got to test and connect with people around you because they're probably got better techniques than you that you can connect. You don't know that you can just sit there doing all the study yourself. You've got to connect with them. So that's why the study is really good, because you can connect with people.
Thanks, boys. Lots of great ideas there, particularly for our Year 12 cohort. But I want to take it back and look at our Year 11 students who've just started the HSC journey. How important is Year 11 learning to HSC success?
That's a great question. Year 11 is, I think, the critical setup for what you're going to do in Year 12, even though, the results do go towards early entry, and whether it be UAW or up in Sydney like UTS and Western, Year 11 results are critical for what you want to achieve. I've said this to my a lot, and it's more the patterns that you recognise in Year 11. So whether it go home and study for 2 hours, it's going to be different going straight from Year 10, where you might have studied a week before the exam. Year 11, it's a bit more serious. You've got to study, read a book, read something for English, go over business reports, business syllabus, stuff like that. But if you can set the solid foundations in Year 11, then I'm going to say you just set up for success at your level in Year 12. So for me, Year 11 was crucial in saying, okay, this worked for me, this didn't work for me. And then in Year 12, you can tweak those things instead of going into Year 12 and saying, okay, I've got to start all over again. I don't even know what I'm doing. If you can set up in Year 11, build strong foundations, it only just goes up from there.
Yeah, Year 11 is 100% a stepping stone for Year 12. I found Year 11 as an experimental. Like, obviously you have to lock in, but you can also make mistakes in Year 11, like ways you can study. For me, I had to change the environment, which I learned in Year 11. I couldn't study at home, so I had to go to the library. So you can 100% make mistakes in Year 11, but also learn to improve on those mistakes. So you don't have to repeat them in Year 12 because time is money in Year 12.
I was going to say the exact same as Year 11, like the results don't really matter at the end of the day. It's how you use and how you achieve those results. So if you achieve those results by doing nothing, then you haven't learned anything. But if you achieve those results by actually testing out study plans, different methods, every test, then you use it as an experiment, is what I would say. That's the best way to use Year 11. Finding out what best works for you and then actually trying really hard and well and then putting it into place.
I'd also say it's pretty important, don't be scared to fail in Year 11. You obviously, this is all new to you, you're only just starting this, so you're looking for the best ways that work for you. So obviously, don't be scared to give something a go, and if it doesn't work, then for Year 12 or for the next exam, I'm not going to do it that way, I'm going to try a new way. So don't be, you might not do as well as you wanted to, and you might fail, but don't be scared, instead use that to better yourself for the next time.
One last question for me. The HSC is not all plain sailing, it is challenging, you have the ups and downs and all the things in between. So when you receive a bad result or some bad feedback or things aren't necessarily working for you, the motivation levels are dropping and changing, what's one thing that you did to respond in a positive way to that to keep you moving towards your goals?
I think I'm a really good example of this one, actually. My first task in religion, I think I got 13.5 out of 20. And I studied, that was probably the most I've ever studied for an assessment task in a while. As a first, it was my first year 12 religion assessment. And it was religion, Christianity short answer questions. And I sat down for 2 weeks memorizing responses, quotes, everything that I could possibly fit in my head from that topic, I had in my head. But I got 13.5, and when I saw that paper, I thought that was it. I thought, there's no hope for me in religion. I'm just gonna do averagely or fail or whatever. But it goes back to HSC being a game. It doesn't matter actually how hard you genuinely work. It's how tactical you are with using your time. I didn't speak to Miss Early at all before that assessment task. And I think after I got that result, and I spoke to Miss Early about, how down I was, that was when, she told me that there's been heaps of students that have been in your situation, and there's plenty of ways to go around it without having to, give up. People achieve band sixes with failing assessment tasks. So, you should actually be grateful you passed. When you're down, you need to lean on people who have either experienced it before and have made a comeback, or find it deep within yourself. And use HSC as a game. Use your teachers, get the feedback, get the proper ways of actually responding to questions, and you'll be sweet. And don't get down if you get poor, because even business and everything, I think every single subject, there was one assessment where I was in the 60s and the 50s for, but I still achieved a pretty good result. So if you get a poor mark, it's not be all and all. Just put your head down and keep getting going.
Yeah, for me that was business. I remember my first business assessment, I was not happy with at all. And to be honest, I did think about it a lot. I didn't just let it slide like I probably should have. But the main thing is using the teachers. I remember before that assessment, I hardly went to the library. I didn't see Mr. Marcy, Mr. Simon at all. I was like, I'll be right. I did all right in year 11, so I was like, I'll be right now. I'll fly for this. But I got a reality check. But I think, the main thing is that when something like that happens, if you don't do as well, even if you study, like Zal said, that's really hard. It's about not getting too down and hard on yourself. You just want to use that to learn for next time. So talking to your teachers, taking your paper and being pointing out to me where I went wrong, where did I lose those marks, where can I get those marks in the future. I think that's really important, rather than just as I said, it's over and done. There's nothing I can do.
I think the most important thing when you get feedback, just remember that your teachers aren't there, they're against you. They want you to go back. That's what they're trying to do. Right? If they're giving you feedback and you're saying you're not getting 20 out of 20, it's because they want to get you, when you sit your exam in 8 months' time, to be about 20 out of 20. And it's the steps that you take when you make mistakes, and it's about what you learn from them. So never take feedback or a bad mark or I don't know. Use what did I do wrong and what can I do better. Find your mistakes and think, how can I make those minor improvements? Because everything you're doing now is just a stepping stone for the final exam you're going to write. It matters because it's but it's only going to matter indefinitely when you write that last exam. If you can put in the process of learning from mistakes and getting better each and every day, your last exam will be your best one.
Boys, thank you very much for coming back in and sharing your wisdom. Are there any questions from the floor that are pressing at this point in time, just before we go off to recess? If you do have a question that pops up later on, please ask your PC teachers, your classroom teachers, or any member of the leadership team. We're very happy to help you out with it. Can I ask you to put your hands together for the students to stay behind the when you are having those difficult moments, effective use of your time or being effective in that process is really important. Timetables, study periods at school, they are really valuable. Use them to your advantage. The HSC, to achieve at a high level, it is very much achievable for every single person, and your potential is what you're aiming for. You just never know how much you might surprise yourself and get that higher grade if you just keep working really hard each and every day, each and every week. Year 12, Year 11, I wish you have a successful HSC. We'll continue to work with you. Once again, boys, thank you for coming back and being a part of it. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on your achievements. And have a wonderful next phase of your life journey. Again, thank you very much.
Hospitality or construction, please make sure that you check your emails. I have a link for a Google Classroom there, and that classroom has some very important links for tomorrow's induction day. I said you were 11 short. That was the very beginning of the message. So please make sure you check that through today. If you don't have that email and you don't have access to that classroom, please come and see.